Yeah, it's Gary Santoni, Garysantoni.
And title?
I'm a professor at Ball State.
Of
Economics.
Okay. That way, when we type the credits in there, the guy who types them in gets them straight. If I were to ask you, in your mind, what is a premier teaching university?
I think what makes Ball State a premier teaching university is because we're committed here at Ball State, I think both the faculty and the administration, to providing the kind of environment that's conducive to student learning. And that includes putting those professors in the classroom that are committed to that and providing the resources necessary for them to generate this environment.
We've said our best professors are in the classroom, and that is a direct statement. The fact that at Ball State, teaching assistants don't do a lot of stuff. The man who's doing the research, the individual who's responsible, is in there teaching the students. You may teach a freshman class, you may teach a senior colloquium, whatever it might be, but you're out there teaching.
Yeah, that's right. Ball State puts experienced professors in the classroom. We don't have graduate assistants in the classroom for the most part. These are experienced people in the classroom, the people who are doing the research that are out there on the forefront of their disciplines.
The students are obviously benefiting. How?
Well, they're getting the information that's, as I said, on the forefront of the discipline, and that's basically what I see them getting out of this.
Does it put more pressure on you as a professor?
Sure, it does. When you try to bring this kind of information to the students, there's more pressure on the professor to do the research, to get involved in this activity, get more involved with the students, and so yeah, there's more pressure on the professor.
Yeah. What's the downside here? Is there a downside to this?
Well, not if you enjoy teaching, and of course it's time consuming. But I think most of the professors here at Ball State enjoy what they do and want to bring this information to the students. They've made a commitment to this. This is their life, and this is what they want to do.
Looking at it from purely a faculty standpoint, administratively, I know that the administration would like this to happen. From a faculty standpoint, do we see a majority of faculty members embracing this kind of philosophy?
I think generally that's true. I think faculty go along with this. And as I said, Ball State has made an effort to collect that kind of faculty that's interested in doing this. You know, you have to know where you're going if you're ever going to get there. And I think Ball State's known where it's going for a while, and it's done the kinds of things necessary to bring the kind of faculty together that are interested in furthering this goal.
Wonderful. And spell it for me.
Okay, Mark Fissell, Fissel.
And title?
Director, Center for Teaching and Learning.
Okay, all right, here we go. Bring your hands for that. That'll just keep you.
Okay.
Yeah. And just keep all your responses
To you, so I'm not going, okay.
No, just
outstanding.
If you were to describe what you think is Ball State University, a premier teaching university, what would you say?
Ball State University has a long-standing tradition of a commitment to classroom excellence. And what that means is that the best professors at Ball State are still in the classroom. Professors that have prolific publication records still teach introductory survey courses here. Consequently, if you're a freshman, you can expect to be taught by the very best the semester that you arrive.
It's a commitment the administration has made. The faculty seem to embrace this concept very much.
When faculty are interviewed to teach at Ball State University, it's precisely that. They're interviewed to teach. If you don't do well in the classroom, it's highly unlikely you'll be offered the job. You can have a tremendous publication record, you can have a degree from a very prestigious institution, but if in your attempt to teach the Ball State University students, you don't demonstrate some kind of sparkle, some kind of charisma, some kind of commitment to classroom instruction, then it's very rare that that person is offered a job here.
Talk about it from the student's perspective, the benefit to students from this concept.
In all honesty, our students sometimes are a bit spoiled because they are used to a very personal relationship in the classroom. And pedagogical research says that that's very important. Our students prefer small classes, and we do the very best we can to try to maintain small classes. It means that students know that the faculty are available during office hours. They know that faculty will use the latest in educational technologies to make classroom times exciting for them, and they'll do everything they can to try to give them that one-on-one kind of commitment that you would expect from a good instructor.
So does this set Ball State apart from other major research-oriented universities?
Absolutely. I think the fact is that if you attend one of those big schools, the fact is that you have very little contact with a professor. You may be in a section of 1,000 people. You may only get to know a couple of grad assistants. At Ball State, you have a chance to meet professors at different walks in their careers, and they're really, I think, very accessible to students. Sorry, I followed that last one.
No, that's okay.
All right.
I mean, that's
Let
a
me,
very
let me.
Okay, we're ready? We're ready. Okay. Tell me your name and spell it for us.
Yeah, Tony, Tony, Edmonds, Edmonds,
And your title.
Professor of History.
Okay. Reflect on what makes Ball State a premier teaching university. Do we really live up to that image as we portray ourselves?
I remember once Ball State was called the premier teaching institution, which I always thought went a little too far, since there are other teaching institutions that do a good job teaching. But I certainly think it's fair to call Ball State a premier teaching institution. And I think the heart of it comes in the hiring process. That is, when we hire people to teach at Ball State. I've been on, probably 15 different hiring committees. And in the history department and most other departments, the key thing we look for is what kind of classroom teacher is this person going to be. We don't just have them do a research presentation, for example. We have them actually teach a class. We talk to them about their teaching. We ask for evidence of good teaching when they submit their resumes for the job. So at the very beginning of the process, I think Ball State looks for those individuals who will carry their research into a classroom atmosphere.
How does that differentiate us from other major doctoral universities?
I think most of the doctoral universities, although they talk about classroom undergraduate teaching as being crucial to their missions, and I'm sure they have good teachers at those institutions, the primary focus, and I think focus is the key word here, is not so much on what goes on between a professor and an undergraduate sitting in a chair in tears because she's gotten a D on a quiz and never got anything but an A+ in her life, but rather on what is that professor's reputation among his peers at other universities in his research? Does he put out excellent stuff? Is he a premier researcher? Now again, obviously people at Ball State do research. Obviously, we want our teachers to be well informed about their fields, but I think, again, it's a question of focus. The focus at many of the large research universities is, first and foremost, research that may or may not relate to the teaching. At Ball State, it is research and teaching as they intermix and intermingle.
Where's the benefit to the student here?
Well, I think the benefit to the student comes in the fact that, as trite as this sounds, the teachers at Ball State, I think, really care about what's going on in the head and the heart of the undergraduate student. We spend an awful lot of time, not just in the classroom, but in what I call teaching on the sly. Walking down the hall, running into a student, talking for 15 minutes, sitting over in the cafeteria, a student walks by, come on and have a seat, or vice versa. Be it the Flying Tomato in the afternoon, having a salad, a student comes by, sit down. The student benefits because I think he or she senses that on our agenda, students are right at the top. And I don't think this obviously is going to benefit the student. Rather than see, as I did in one of my graduate or undergraduate classes in college, the professor would lecture to 400 students, and then a phalanx of graduate assistants would surround him as he beat his path off the stage to rush to the library to write his book for that week. His office hours, as I recall, were 1 to 1:15 every other Friday. You know, a really up time to go to the prof's office. Now, again, I don't want to suggest that our brothers and sisters in the Big Ten or the Ivy League are somehow all like this. Again, I think we're talking about a general focus. And if the student thinks that this big deal professor with all of these letters after his or her name, MA and BA and PhD, cares enough to devote individual time to that student, then that student, I am absolutely convinced, is going to learn more. And that's what the educational process is all about.